Welcome to Quantum Wave of Living, Video 1. How do you manifest the universe? I was given, at age 50, a death sentence of liver cancer, and even though I was a Chinese medical doctor and a PhD biochemist, I knew I had to do something new, different, and fast. And I asked for support, and I found a teacher in Hawaii where I was living. And I went to him and told him my story of the diagnosis of liver cancer, and he told me this story. He said, if a student brings a teacher a cup filled with poison and says, "Can you help me to change the poison in my cup so that I can drink out of my cup?" the teacher knows that he means his life. And so the teacher says, the first thing I can tell you is that you cannot throw out what's in the cup. That means you can't let go, you can't clear things, forget them, throw them away. Okay, so then I was a little sad. I said, well, and then he said, but what you can do is pour fresh water into your cup and pour and pour and pour. And as you can see, the fresh water will replace the poison in the cup. And if you do that long enough, then you will only have fresh water in the cup and you can drink from your cup. I said, fantastic story. I said, what's the fresh water in my life? He smiled and said, living your true desires. And I said, fantastic, living my true desires. I'm going to go home and do that. So I went home and I looked around, and I was already teaching in my own college of Chinese medicine that was accredited. I had a practice of Chinese medicine that was successful. I had a son that I loved. I had a home. I was living in Hawaii that I loved. I was doing everything I thought I desired. I went back to him and I said, Roger, I clearly do not know my true desires. And he smiled and said, you're right. And now you're ready for the quantum world. Because in the quantum world, it will be reading that quantum wave nature that will give you your true desires, that gave me my true desires, that I am now living nonstop and loving it. And it will give me and give you the quality of life that I guarantee will be full of surprises, new and different, and I hope you'll love it as I do. So anyway, so I went home and thought about it and said, I have to dedicate myself to this. I'm a biochemist. I have the background. Why not? So he began to share the story of the quantum way, which you can see in the next slide. In the old days, our books all showed us that inside the atom, there are tiny particles, we were told, balls that look like protons and neutrons in a nucleus, and then these little balls of electrons that used to orbit around the nucleus and in every which way. And it's still in all the books, even though this is not the truth. The truth began to happen 100 years ago in a laboratory where they did the famous double slit experiment. And as you can see in the laboratory, there was the scientist. He made a machine called an electron generator that shot out the electrons, and then he took a bar that the electrons could not pass through and made two slits in the bar. And on the other side of the bar, he had a piece of photographic paper that would record the electrons, whatever they were. So they started shooting the electrons at the double slit, thinking that if they're balls or particles, they'll go straight through the bar, hit the paper, and make two lines. Because remember, they had to do it long enough to create that image. So sure enough, when they developed the photographic paper, they got 2 lines. And they were so happy they finally proved that they had particles. So they all went out to celebrate. They would get a Nobel Prize, hopefully, for this beautiful experiment. While they were gone, like most brilliant scientists, they knew they had to repeat this experiment many times. So they put a clean sheet of photographic paper, left the machine going. And when they came back, they took the photographic paper, developed it, thinking they would see 2 lines, and they didn't. They saw hundreds of lines with the biggest line in the middle. This meant only one thing. It was called an interference pattern, and it means they have quantum waves. The electrons somehow became quantum waves while they were gone. This upset them all. Even the greatest minds could not figure out what was going on. The reason this happens is that the wave will hit the double slits, make 2 waves, and the 2 waves, as you can see in the picture, are hitting each other and making little balls of energy that are like particles, and they show up as hundreds of lines on the paper. So it took them many years to figure this out, and I believe they've just recently really figured out the whole thing, and I'll be sharing that with you later. But for now, we know that wherever there's a particle, there's always a quantum wave. The 2 are inseparable. As you can see in the triangle, the particle plus the quantum wave is what we're working with. But the interesting thing is the particle will disappear and reappear a new particle in the next corner of the triangle, and this I've given a name to, which I found in a physics book. No one else seems to have seen it. Wavicle, wave particle, because the wave never disappears, but the particle disappears and becomes a brand new particle. When I heard that, I was ecstatic. That means since I'm made up of all particle quantum waves, that I am new and different quickly. And that's what I needed to hear. I can remake myself, my body, if I wish to. I just have to learn how. And that's what I did, and that's what I've been doing for many years now, and I'll be sharing with you how to do that, or how I did it anyway. So that's the beginning of the double slit experiment that we really need to understand. What they did conclude from this experiment, after they did it many, many times, is that when they were there, they saw more particles. When they weren't there, they saw more quantum waves. Their conclusion is that their presence, some people say observation, some people say they're measuring, basically their being there is what manifests the particles of the experiment. So that's the first conclusion that shows you that you manifest particles, the universe, at least we know, our body, because those are our particles that are disappearing and reappearing faster than we can imagine. And so I took that information. I was ecstatic, and my teacher already knew that this was the important piece of information we needed to then begin the work of reading that pattern. So if you are a wave and the wave is made up of a pattern, we can read a pattern. That's something we can talk about, a pattern of information. We can read that about you. You can read that about you. I will teach you how to read that in a few videos after we do some more beginning preparation. We have to cross the bridge and then read that and then live it. So we are going to then go to the next slide, which will show us how we are a quantum wave. That's really all we are. We are literally a quantum wave manifesting matter. We are quantum waves structuring matter, literally. And that is already written about. And this is something that you will love to learn about, because every moment then becomes new and different. Not just your body, but there are more secrets, which I will share with you later, that help you change your life here, because your life here, according to the quantum world, is also what we are manifesting, and we will learn how to transform this, the relationships, the work, all of it. So the artistic creations, your jobs, everything you'd like. So this is what we're going to do. And so I think we'll end here, and I'll give you the basic log line. It's a haiku, means a 17-syllable Japanese form of poetry that I wrote many years ago at the beginning of this. And the way it goes is, when we dare to bare our hearts naked, we turn our scared into sacred. And that's what this process is about. When we dare to bare our hearts naked, we turn our scared into sacred. So this process is going to assist you, and it won't be painful. You don't stay scared long. It usually lasts a few seconds, and it's not too intense either. In fact, you may not even experience it. So stay tuned when we change our heart intelligence into what we truly desire, and that's what we're going to do. So see you in the next video. And as we say in Thailand again, Sawadee Ka.